To move into a new house as quickly as possible, the first thing you need to do is make sure you can wash, shave, and do laundry in the house. To do this, I waterproofed the room with plastered gypsum plaster and installed a bathtub. It's better to do this before laying the tiles. I was afraid to lay the tiles myself, so I hired a worker. I tried to save money and regretted it. I should have hired someone more qualified. But the tiling job was done, even with a 45-degree miter cut around the window. After that, I took care of the plumbing myself. I installed the faucet and the shower head, put in 3 outlets for the washing machine, dryer and hairdryer, and hung up a mirror with lighting. It's a very useful thing that I really missed before, and I installed the washing machine. Overall, even though the room wasn't completely finished, it fully met all the basic needs for personal hygiene. So my wife and I moved into the new house and lived there for quite a while as we saved up money to finish the bathroom, and finally that day came. I have a window in my bathroom and I'm not shy about it. The window has a special factory tint. From outside during the day, it looks like a mirror, but at night with the light on, everything inside is visible. So we needed curtains to keep people from seeing my wife. I wanted to have them custom made, but I'll talk about that another time. For now, I just bought ready-made, the cheapest roller blinds from a regular hardware store. They come in various sizes, so I chose the closest match. The packaging claimed a 5-minute installation, which wasn't true, but they're still easy to set up. The set includes mounting hardware, offering screws or double-sided tape. I used the tape. For the opening sash, I built a mount that sticks and hooks onto the frame top. I attached the included mount to the roll and with the window open pressed it against the frame with the tilt sash. Everything went smoothly, but there was an issue with the second sash, because I didn't notice that the size listed was for the fabric. These little doodads on the edges add an extra 3 centimeters and I was literally just 5 millimeters short. It fits right here between the wall and the sash. Fortunately, you can trim it yourself. You can even cut the tube, and it shows that you can also trim the fabric yourself if needed. The blind itself fits well, just perfectly as it should, but unfortunately these things on the edges just don't fit anymore. To start, I decided to cut off a couple of millimeters from the tube with a multi-tool and make it flush with the fabric, and that turned out to be enough. I didn't have to cut the fabric itself. I assembled the mount for the second blind and pressed it firmly onto the frame. 24 hours have passed as stated in the instructions, and now the blind can be used. You just pull this little thing and it closes. It's not exactly fast or super convenient, but that's how it is. There are weights at the bottom here and they have magnets. There are matching strips that you can stick on with double-sided tape, so they'll be right here and the magnetic part will attach to them. But you know, I think I won't stick these magnets here because everything works fine even without the magnets. Yeah, when you open the window like this it will sag a little bit, but you know, it's fine, who cares? And nothing happens, it doesn't go anywhere, it's fine. So I won't be attaching the magnets, or rather the matching parts for the magnets. Let it be like that, and now you don't have to show your stuff through the window. Next, the ceilings were finished in the house, including in the bathroom. At first I really wanted to make a ceiling with full lighting, but I was talked out of it. I'll explain the reasons a bit later, but I decided to go with a simple ceiling with light lines. A plastic profile with a shadow gap was installed along the edges. Holes were drilled in the tiles using a hammer drill and vacuum cleaner. Dowels were inserted, and the profile was screwed to the wall with self-tapping screws. Since I had regular inexpensive tiles on the walls, making the holes was easy. But when it came to porcelain stoneware, I was shocked at how hard it was to drill, even with a diamond core bit. That's why some installers, when working with porcelain stoneware, don't screw the profile in, but glue it instead. They say it holds just as well as screws, if not better. A special profile was used for the light lines, which was cut at a 45-degree angle using a miter saw. There are many options for how you can implement lighting with light lines. I'm not very imaginative, so I just chose a simple square with a side of 1 meter. The 4 parts of the profile were joined together into a square using metal perforated tape and then attached to the ceiling with regular furniture brackets on both sides. For extra rigidity, we glued the LED strip onto the profile. Depending on the power of the strip, you can lay it in one or several rows. If necessary, we glued a 17 watt per meter strip in a single row. We connected the strip to the wiring through a drilled hole in the profile using WAGO connectors and attached the other part to the power supply unit in the attic. You can use the heat gun to stretch the fabric. Subtitles. What was still missing in the bathroom for convenience was a vanity with a sink. I went around several stores in St. Petersburg and everything was either of mediocre quality or very expensive. I went home deep in thought, considering the idea of a custom-made vanity, but at home, while browsing the internet, I saw that the vanity sold for 20,000 in Leroy Merlin was only 11,000 on a marketplace. The exact same vanity, identical in every way, and now that's a good deal. A couple of days later, the vanity arrived right at my doorstep, already assembled, which is pretty convenient and saves a few hours of my life. The sink arrived the same way, and I put the faucet on top of it to measure the installation height. The standard sink height is 85 centimeters, but that felt low to me, so I chose 90 centimeters. I subtracted the sink height from that to mark the top of the vanity. The vanity is made of medium density fiberboard and is quite large, 50 by 100 centimeters, so even after I took out the drawers, it was still very heavy. Remember this when carrying or wall mounting it. Special plates were included for mounting. I marked the holes and made my decision. From past experience, I used a regular drill bit to drill through the tile. Last time it was quick and easy, but this time, even wetting the drill bit to avoid making sparks, I really had to work hard. To mount it in the partition wall made of aerated concrete blocks, I wanted to use these special anchors, but only during drilling did I realize that they wouldn't go into the tile. I tried to widen part of the hole in the tile, and here too. Only during the process did I realize that with two such holes in the tile, the plate wouldn't sit properly on the wall, so I bought regular anchors for bolts. The mounting plates for the cabinet are installed, but I should have pre-drilled holes for water supply and drainage. I need to get proper hole saws for wood. Since the jigsaw blade refused to turn in the dense, medium-density fiberboard, I managed to get the job done without a trip to the store for hole saws, but I wouldn't want to repeat it next time. The hole for the water drain in the countertop was made in advance, and with my type of sink, I also needed a hole for the faucet. To do this, I had to mark the spot where the sink would be installed. I used a laser level to mark the center of the long side, then shifted the sink with a tape measure due to its shape. It's tricky, and gluing the sink precisely in the center is the hardest part. I managed by using 2 pieces of timber, which I fixed with clamps on the sides of the sink. This way, I made improvised guides that would allow me to lower the sink exactly into place, and on the third side, instead of a guide, the faucet would act as a stopper. I made all the necessary holes, screwed the supply lines and fasteners into the faucet in advance, carefully coated the hole in the cabinet with sanitary sealant, and fixed the faucet from below using a laser level. I ran the water pipe through the cabinet hole with a compression nut so the cabinet can be hung on the wall. There's an adjustment on the mount for a tighter wall fit. An important detail during installation is to place the plates not in the center of the cabinet wall, but along the inner edge. Otherwise, the plate will prevent the cabinet from fitting tightly against the wall. It wasn't possible to hang the cabinet together with the guides, so I had to remove them, mark the sink installation spot again, put the guides back, and then I could glue the sink in place. I turned the sink over, applied plenty of silicone around the perimeter, and lowered the sink into place along the guides. Even expensive ceramics will be uneven and not level, so you need to apply extra sealant and add more if necessary. More, it's already going. Next. She sprayed the silicone with soapy water.
Don't spray anyone else and put the spacers only on me.
I never bought a proper spatula. I managed with my finger, which I also wetted with soapy water every time. I mixed regular liquid soap with water, about 1 to 10, and ran it along the seam. Ideally, do this in one pass, but without experience, it's tough to apply the right amount of sealant, so it's better to use too much than too little. Using the soapy solution, excess silicone doesn't stick. I wiped it off with toilet paper, finished the seam, and now everything can be connected. For a nicer look, I bought a pop-up drain. All the mounting hardware comes with it. All the parts just get squeezed and screwed together with one bolt. I screwed the flexible hoses to the water pipes and attached a regular siphon to the pop-up drain. The only thing is, I had to buy it twice. Because, as it turns out, they can be different diameters. When buying a pop-up drain, you need to pay attention to what diameter siphon it requires. When there's a woman in the house, you need a lot of shelves in the bathroom to hold thousands of jars, bottles, and all sorts of containers. I didn't like the regular metal shelves. I like this kind of design, which visually hides the bottles at least from one side, but the good quality ones are very expensive. The search ended with buying these shelves made of solid elm with a live edge and treated with oil. In my opinion, they look awesome and are very easy to mount on the wall. The set includes 2 studs with dowels for the dowel holes. I still had to go to the store for a ceramic drill bit, and using a vacuum cleaner to reduce the amount of dust, I drilled the hole, hammered in the dowel, screwed in the studs, and the shelf just slides onto the studs in one simple motion. At first, I couldn't understand how shelves that aren't screwed in would stay up, but in practice they hold absolutely solid. They're so secure, you couldn't pull them off the wall even if you tried. The thing I had to rack my brain over the most was the bathtub screen. The difficulty came from a mistake I made during the sewer installation stage. Somewhere I miscalculated, and the sewer outlet ended up right in the middle of the bathtub's edge. Initially, I wanted to make a frame out of profile and put a white panel on magnets. Maybe even add some backlighting to make it look nice, but because of the mistake with the sewer. The plan didn't work out, so I did it quickly, cheaply, and decently. I bought a ready-made screen that fit the size and adjusted it with a multi-tool. On one side I made a cutout for the pipes going to the washing machine. I also had to make a cutout at the top for the edge of the bathtub rim to cover the unsightly pipes and the gap between the bathtub and the wall on one side. I needed a decorative cover on one side and a shelf on the other. I bought regular furniture panels for this. I quickly marked out 3 pieces and the result looked neat and nice. I made the cuts using a new miter saw from Redwork and appreciated how convenient it is to work when the miter saw has the ability to make long cuts with a multi-tool and a sanding attachment. I beveled the edge and went over the sawn edge. Next, I needed to give the wood a more suitable look and protect it from water by using oil with wax left over from treating the windowsill in the house. I generously applied the oil to the wood, let it soak into the wood for a couple of hours, and then used a napkin to rub in what was left on the surface. The next day, I applied another layer. There can be several layers. This way you can achieve a more suitable color. To install the cover to the wall, I screwed a metal bracket through dowels and also used a bracket to connect 2 pieces of wood together. This way, I made a removable shelf that covers the pipes. I did the same on the other side, but made the shelf non-removable.
You can spot a true legend right away. It's almost impossible to touch, but not for you. This is your legendary Alpha Bank credit card.
Order a free credit card with a whole year of no interest and get super cashback in rubles every month. Plus, withdraw cash for free at any automated teller machine. Not just profitable, it's alpha profitable.
We ended up with a small bathroom of just over 4 square meters because the room here is a little larger than 2 by 2 meters. It doesn't look like something out of an interior design magazine, but it's actually quite nice. In this small space, we managed to fit a huge cabinet, 50 by 100 centimeters, and a large enough bathtub, 80 by 180. There's also space for a washing machine and a dryer, and as usual, a couple of tips on how to do it better than I did. My biggest mistake was with this spot, with the sewage system, because it ended up like this, and that was 3 years ago. I honestly don't remember how it happened or why I miscalculated so badly. That's the main reason why there's such a makeshift solution here. Because originally I wanted to use a frame made of drywall profiles for the bathtub screens, cover it with a white panel on magnets and add some lighting to it and also put some lighting under the cabinet. But because of this I had to do it this way. It's not a tragedy, because in reality none of this is actually visible. When you're standing there and not using everything, nothing is visible, and at the same time it's quite convenient to use. There's also a great solution called a foot niche. It's when a recess like this is made here, and you can stand right up close to the bathtub. Currently the panel blocks your foot, but with a foot niche you could place your foot fully inside and stand right up to the bathtub. I lived in an apartment that used this solution. It's more convenient, but installing it with panels isn't as easy as it looks. Because I thought it would only take 5 minutes, but it turned out I spent 3 whole days racking my brain over that panel. How do you even make it, especially with that flaw? There's an option to make it out of some kind of opening doors, for example, wooden ones with elements that are sold in hardware stores and they're not expensive. Some people do it, for example, you could use the same boards, make some with magnets too, attach magnets to the backside to the frame, and the boards can be placed either horizontally or vertically. There are a lot of options. This one is the most common, when drywall is simply screwed onto the frame and the same tiles as on the floor are used on top of it. Actually working with this screen is a labor-intensive process. And it really makes you think because there's still a lot of unused space here. All of this used to be there before. Everything that was here was hidden over there. I ended up losing a lot of storage space. When a dryer is added here, everything will likely be moved under the stairs in the hallway. Luckily there's space for it, but in some apartments there's nowhere to put it. And these are used for this purpose. They use swing doors, so it's convenient to put some household chemicals in there. A lot of people also wrote that it's better to install the bathtub from wall to wall along 3 sides. But the thing is, reducing the room just to build a wall here isn't really an option. There's already not much space as it is. Making the bathtub longer, the bathtub is chosen based on your height. If you're a 2-meter tall guy, well, come on, it'll be good for you. With my height, I just sank in a big bathtub, so I had to go with this kind of solution here. I decided to cover it with a wooden shelf. There are all sorts of metal ones and so on, but I like it this way more. And basically, when there are edges on the bathtub, some bathtubs have wide edges where you can put things. That's very convenient. It's good. It's good. I like this solution. If it rots, it rots. I don't care. I'll redo it when it does, and I'll tell you how long it lasted. I'm really into these shelves. My wife can put any jars for storage there, towels too. The shelves are awesome. Straight from the heart, I'll put a link in the description. Besides the bathtub screen, I spent a long time choosing a cabinet. I just couldn't decide and was thinking about having one custom made, but in the end I found a good offer on the marketplace, so I bought it. You can judge the quality right here because the lamination is already peeling off the medium density fiberboard. Fortunately, it's not particle board here, just on the body and the drawers. Everything else is medium density fiberboard, the walls, all the fronts, it's all medium density fiberboard, and it should last quite a long time, even though everything here is exposed to water. I hope it lasts, because unlike particle board, it doesn't absorb water. Here, of course, it's not edge-banded particle board, and if water gets in here, everything will swell up. Maybe I should think ahead about how to deal with this, because the thing about these kinds of sinks is, I actually wanted a sink shaped like an egg, something really beautiful. But the thing is, a lot of people complain and end up throwing out these sinks, replacing them with another one that sits on top of the countertop. I mean, so that it's all one piece like a regular sink, not a vessel sink, but the whole surface is the sink itself. When you wash your face here, everything gets wet. Washing hands is fine, but anything more is a problem. There's water everywhere, over there, over here. You constantly have to wipe it up. There's water here, it flows over there, and for me, it could leak over here, but so far it hasn't. Maybe it's just because it's always wet here. I actually like this solution, I wouldn't refuse it. For some people, practicality is more important, so it's worth considering, but I wouldn't refuse it just because it's wet. It's wet, so what? It dries in 3 seconds anyway. Or you can just wipe it with a towel, it's not a big deal that something is wet here. There's also another thing with these kinds of sinks. Some models don't have this rim, there's no raised edge like this. And when you install it, it's really hard to figure out how to seal it with silicone. You can't reach in there with your finger, a spatula or anything, so you just can't seal it properly. You really need to ask these designers who came up with these sinks how to install them, because with this kind of rim it's easy to install and you can seal everything nicely even just with your finger. And depending on the type of sink, you need to choose the cabinet accordingly, because there are cabinets made specifically without a top part, without a countertop, so you can use some kind of built-in sink, or like these. If they're countertop sinks, then again countertops made of porcelain stoneware, for example, are used, or you can buy them separately, or made of artificial stone. A detail that happened purely by accident. This wall is equal to this protrusion. This happened because I was moving things around, slightly increasing the size of the bathroom and shifting the wall over there. Initially, I didn't even think about it when planning the house, that these cabinets are actually quite wide. 50 centimeters. You need to make sure it doesn't stick out or get in the way when entering, so 50 by a meter is the size. It's awesome because you can fit a ton of stuff in there. These are good drawer slides too with a soft close. Everything you need fits in the cabinet as well. I'll leave a link in the description, but it's at your own risk because sometimes these are sticky and I can't guarantee the quality at all. Ideally, the outlet should have been doubled since one isn't enough, especially with these brushes needing charging too. By the way, it's great. After using it, brushing with a regular brush feels like you didn't brush at all. You need to charge it occasionally, so a double outlet would have been better. It's inconvenient having to keep switching between the shaver, hairdryer, and other devices. This mirror with lighting is great. Actually, I was thinking of making a round mirror with a wooden frame and having the lighting inside. Because I have some flaws with the tile installation here which aren't really noticeable right now, I covered them with a towel here, put a towel there, and over here something distracts the eye. When there was a clean wall here, it was just a nightmare over there.
They built a church, your great-grandfather and his brother Frank, and now nobody can even lay tiles properly in the bathroom.
But the round mirror cost 12,000 and this one is 4. I just couldn't bring myself to spend that much, so I decided to use this mirror. As for the lighting, I really wanted to install a stretch ceiling with full illumination, and it looks awesome. And it's a really practical thing because it gives off a lot of light, which is usually lacking in the bathroom, and the light is great too. It hardly creates any shadows, unlike in the apartments I've rented before. When there's just one light bulb hanging shining on your back and you're trying to shave in front of the mirror with that kind of lighting, having a mirror with backlighting really makes a difference. Of course, when the light is directed at the source, at you, it really helps, but having good lighting in the bathroom is something you need to think about. I was talked out of installing a ceiling with full lighting. Because in reality, in practice, when you live in a private house, any bugs or spiders become your best friends for the rest of your life compared to living in an apartment. Okay, yes, with pleasure. Actually, I didn't think for a second about it, but in a house. First of all, the installer who came in advance. I told him I wanted a fully lit ceiling. He had done ceilings like that before and said, listen, think 10 times before doing this in a house, because they had already done it for a guy. He ended up covering it with sandwich panels. First, before the canvas, they went around everything completely, glued everything so there wouldn't be a single, not even the slightest gap, somewhere. Because if some speck of dust falls or something, it will be a black dot that will hang on the ceiling and drive you crazy. Plus, I have these light fixtures in the kitchen and living room. It seems like they screw in there by thread, very tightly, pretty much. And still those damn flies somehow manage to get in there and create those very same black dots. So, after a couple of years, the whole ceiling will be covered in spots, and instead of a fully lit ceiling, it'll turn into who knows what. Another ceiling solution I've seen, but still decided to pass on. For example, instead of this silly rod here, the chrome one that the curtain slides on. There are special ceiling cornices that split the panel into 2 parts, and you can hang the curtain directly on it, right on the ceiling. I could have hung it so it would slide like this, but then I wouldn't have been able to make these light lines. So I had to make a choice, either one or the other, and I decided to leave this rod and basically not worry about it anymore. There's another interesting solution. Instead of a regular shower rod, you can buy a curtain rod that's usually hung in a room and attached through the ceiling using anchors. You install a special mount there and then you hang the curtain rod on it. It looks much more attractive than those chrome rods, and a nice curtain also adds to the visual appeal. It's not like a plastic bag, it's more like a fabric one. The only thing is, maybe in my case, it would have been better to make it not white, but more like this kind of color, to make it more grayish. It would probably look more harmonious that way, but for now, we'll use this one. When it wears out, we'll buy a gray one. About the curtains, we almost never open them. Honestly, I don't know, we're just too lazy to open them, so they're always closed. In summer, it's the opposite. It's bright outside, and with tinted windows on that side, you can't see in. Plus, the bushes bloom there, so in the summer you don't need to close them, and in the winter there's no reason to open them. In winter it's always dark there anyway. And here, there was nothing to see anyway, so that's how it is with the curtains. I'll show you an awesome solution in one of the next videos. What else is good about a mirror with lighting? There are special mirrors with an anti-fogging function. I thought that with my super mega ventilation it wouldn't fog up, and when you take a bath the mirror doesn't fog up, but when you take a shower it's all fogged up. But if you turn on the backlight in advance it heats up and then it defogs very quickly. And I got a really cool effect with the ventilation. I have the cheapest little grill in the ceiling, but there's a very beautiful static solution in the form of a hidden magnetic vent. But just this part alone costs from 4,000 rubles, and that's without installation work. This little thing costs 300 rubles including installation. The ceiling with light lines cost about 4,000 rubles per square meter, that's materials plus labor. A ceiling with full lighting would have cost about X2. The second time I would have put a slightly more powerful strip in there, because originally when there was a regular LED bulb, a 20-watt one was hanging there. Yeah, it seemed like there wasn't enough light, but when we installed this and turned it on, there was suddenly a lot of light. But later, when we got used to it, if it weren't for the mirror with the backlight, there wouldn't have been enough light, we would have wanted more. So, together with the mirror, it turned out to be enough. As for the plumbing, here we have a regular chrome Grohe faucet, 7,000 for the mixer, and this mixer is also 7,000. This is some kind of Chinese no-name. It looks awesome. It's just a regular faucet, but this one is really cool. It's very beautiful. I really liked it. In terms of the chrome, what annoys me is that it always gets water spots. You clean it, it's nice and shiny, but only for one use until you take a shower. Then it's all covered in spots. Here is a white faucet. It was washed, I don't know, once, and you can't see any spots on it at all. And I lived with black plumbing fixtures. Black plumbing also gets dirty very quickly. It's always covered in white residue, but on white you can't see the white residue. And I really like the white matte faucet in the sink. This thing here, I don't really use it, it's just an aesthetic element here. We use it in the bathtub, and there's a siphon there that costs 3,500. And the funny thing is that this thing can be removed. And I don't have to crawl under the bathtub at all to clean something. I can easily access it thanks to this cover, but I don't have to crawl under there at all, because this thing can be taken out, and I can clean the siphon from above the bathtub. That's the cool thing about this siphon set for 3,500. Because it makes life more convenient. Why else would you need a dryer? Because I didn't think at all that this thing would always be standing here and getting in the way, and I have no idea where to put it. In a single-story version of the house, I'd have to deal with this all the time. At least now the second floor will appear. There will be 2 separate rooms, so I can put this away in a separate room, and plus, I hope the dryer will help fix the situation. In a previous video I said my storage water heater was about to fail. I've now replaced and reconnected it. I'm currently collecting some statistics and we'll discuss them separately, as this topic with hot water is just lying around like a cart. We're in a hurry. And in terms of aesthetics, it would immediately improve the appearance a lot. And I messed up with the tiles, starting from choosing the tiles to the person who installed them. Just take the tile, even a plain white one, the most boring one, but choose its format so that it's like no other tile, so that it looks like 4 of these. A large format immediately makes everything much more attractive. I was in a room tiled with tiles like this, only in a larger format, and honestly, it looked twice as attractive as mine. The thing is, the tiles cost something like 300 rubles per square meter, which is really cheap, and at that moment I was already running out of money for finishing the renovation. And basically it was a stupid moment. You couldn't buy tiles, you'd come to the store and there were no tiles because it was the height of the sanctions and all the tiles were imported. So I bought what was available, and overall I tried to save money because the bathroom is actually one of the most expensive rooms in the house. In terms of price and quality, I think it turned out pretty decent. For the money that was spent, this is the look I got. This isn't a staged or special shot. Everything is just as we use it in real life. I didn't move a single bottle anywhere. Everything is in its place. Usually everything is lying around, not like those magazine photos where everything is neat and polished. In my case, it's just the way it is and it still looks pretty nice. I wish you to make everything even more enjoyable. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.